Hi, on the Woodpecker today. No, the bookcase is not finished, but the top part is well on its way. I finished part 2 by sanding the doors at the bottom. Maybe you've noticed that I was wearing a new dust mask. As a matter of fact, this is a brand new mask that Parcel Safety sent me. The timing was perfect because my old one had seen better days. From now on, I'll be wearing this mask. It fits my face way better. Okay, it doesn't make sanding more fun, but at least it's more comfortable, especially when I have several hours of it. The edge support is made in one piece, and it's adjustable. Way better than my other one, which doesn't stay in place. As a bonus, I can now remove the mask with only one hand. This is nice. They also sent one that is only for wood dust. Renee is using it. Yes, while I'm making this bookcase, she's sanding the deck again. She's never worn a mask before because she said they were too heavy and cumbersome. Now, to my great pleasure, she's wearing it all the time. So if you're looking for a dust mask, you can check Parcel Safety's website and you can use the promo code Alain to have a 15% discount. But the bookcase is far from being done. I need to take care of the two big horizontal surfaces. The first thing to do is to surface the long boards. Since they're so long, I have to ask for a little bit of help from René. Finally, all the long boards are surfaced. But this made a lot of shavings again. To make sure the edge is really straight, I cut it with the track saw. Then I'm able to go to the table saw. But I have one small problem. The blade is too close to my workbench. I'm forced to use a pallet lift to move my workbench away from it. Now I'm able to rip the other side of the boards. Then I have to do the angle cuts. The first thing to do is to tilt the saw blade. Move the fence and make the cuts. Now that they are done, it's time to cut the plywood. Since this bookcase is wider than a full sheet of plywood, I need to join two pieces together. To make sure the edges are aligned, I use the minnows. To glue both pieces together, I clamp one side on my work surface, and for the other side, I use panel clamps. One thing I can say is that it does a great job of closing the gap. Now I just need to do the same thing on the other side. When the glue is dry, I cut a piece, so it will be easier to move around. I cut one side straight. Then I lay this on top of the base, align the glue joint directly on top of the plywood's edge, and mark the location where I should cut the side. It's easy because it's right in the middle of the side panel. I cut the panels to length. I route a groove at each end. Now I need to fill these grooves with solid wood. So after making sure they're at the right thickness, I glue the wood strips inside the grooves. When they are in place, I remove all the excess glue. Then it's time for another strip. When the glue is dry, I can remove the excess wood. I sand the hard glue of the joint before doing anything else. Since this is plywood and I don't want to sand through the veneer, I only use a grit of 220. I also sand a long board. Now I need to take care of the ends, because the strips I've glued are too wide. So I fix this. Now I'm ready to glue the plywood to the solid wood. After marking where to drill domino mortises, I drill them. With René's help, I glue the first panel. This uses most of my clamps, so I must wait before gluing the second one. And yes, I need to wait again. But when the glue is dry, I can remove the excess wood from the boards. I will use them for what's coming next. But before that, I need to remove the angle cut. But this won't be enough, so I need to prepare more wood. Now I can glue this together and wait for the glue to dry. When it is, I remove the excess glue. I cut this in 4 sections. This will go just like that. All the sides will be end grain, just like the first board. To be able to do this, I need to cut a groove. One done. 3 more to do. When I'm done and each piece is in place, I can drill the holes. 2 in the wide panel and 1 in the smaller one. Then I remove the pieces and elongate the holes I've just drilled. Finally, I can glue them in place. I only put glue at the front, on the face of the longboard, and on the edge of the small piece. After putting it in place, I clamp this. Then with a needle, I carefully apply a little bit of glue inside the holes I made. I'm super careful not to put glue too close to the solid wood. Then I put a length of dowel in the holes. Now I need to wait for the glue to dry a bit before removing what's sticking out. Since I have the sander in my hands, I also sand this excess glue. Now I can finish the sides. The first thing to do is mark where to cut and cut it. Now I can trace the angle on the sides chamfer. With those marks, it's easier to follow them to cut the chamfer. When I'm done, both chamfers meet like this. But I don't have anything to support the sides. I will fix this right away. When I glue the strips in place, I'm super careful not to glue them to the solid pieces of the sides. I only glue them to the plywood. But the long one at the back is way easier to glue in place. But I also need to make two long top stretchers. For those, I need to glue two boards together to have the right thickness. When the glue is well spread, I use most of my clamps to glue this. When the glue is dry, it's possible to make two stretchers. But before I can put them in place, I need to fix the top of the base in place. The first thing to do is to make sure it's well centered. Then I make sure this won't move. Now I'm ready to join the sides to the rest. I even did a test before just to make sure not to goof anything up. This piece is actually this piece. This is the top. And finally, this would be the side. I even wrote myself a procedure. Here's how it goes. First, I mark the placement of the inside of the base's side. The arrow is pointing to it in my illustration. I trace a line. I repeat this on the other side. I also trace a line for the back. With all those lines, I can clamp a side to the top. Look. Everything is aligned to the lines. Now I just need to mark where I want the domino mortises and drill them. The vertical ones are 55 millimeters deep. On the sides, 25 millimeters. Then I set the stop to 40 millimeters and add 5 millimeters. But since I don't have any matrix setup blocks, I use the closest thing I can find. After laying a spacer to the same thickness of the top over the side, I drill the interior mortise. Now I'm almost ready to try this. But before, I need to shave a little bit of each domino so they will be easier to insert into their holes. I also need to shorten them. Then I can install the Knockdown joinery. Finally, with René's help, we can see what this will look like. It's quite simple. we lay the top in place, insert 2 dominoes on each side, and lay the side over this. Then we can see that this will be perfect. I just need to drill some mortises to hold the stretchers in place. After hammering down the knockdown joinery, we can try this again, but with the stretchers this time. Since everything is perfect, I can start to work on the central part of the top. I begin by cutting all the plywood I'll need for this. When each piece has one face that I'm sure is straight, I take care of the solid wood for their edging. Now I need to glue this in place. This uses most of my clamps, so I have to wait for the glue to dry before going any further. When the glue is dry, I level the solid edging with a mix of card scraper and 220 grit sandpaper. Since I now have my clamps, I can glue the rest of the edging. When the glue is dry, it's time to cut all this to the right height. For the sides and shelves, I clamp 2 pieces together to make sure they have the same size. Now I can mark where to cut the grooves for the shelves. This is the test I've made, because here I will use another type of knockdown joinery. To avoid making any mistakes, I took note of the position of the grooves. All those measurements are in millimeters, because it's easier this way. Here they are. The only thing to do is to cut them. For this, I use a 7mm bit and the router is guided by a rail. By taking my time, I managed to cut all of them. Now I also need to cut the mating grooves into the shelves. I mark what I should remove. It's really not the time to make a mistake. This time around, I used the horizontal router table I made when I did our bedroom's ceiling. Now I'm ready to glue the knockdown joinery. This type of joinery is held in place with gel instant glue. After spreading the glue, I just need to push the female part in place. When they're all in place, I sand a bit to remove the excess glue. Then I can glue the mating part of this on the shelves. When the glue is dry, I can try this in place. It's perfect, but I have one small problem. It's not really sturdy without a back. I take this apart and cut all the pieces to their final width. On both sides, I route a rabbet for the back and cut it. After putting it in place, I can drill the holes for the screws. With a back, the central section is much sturdier. Now I need to cut the back of the top of the base. When it's done, I can figure out the notches on the top of the central section and cut them. Nope, it's not easy making those cuts. But in the end, everything went fine. I just need to recut the back to the right height. With René's help again, I try it all to see how this will fit, and as expected, it's perfect. But I'm far from being done. So if you want to see this bookcase all finished, you'll have to come back to the Woodpecker.